Welcome back into Sports Bar, where our attention now turns to the national scene and specifically to the NBA. And we were also talking a little before the show about the Charlotte Hornets. They started the season extremely strong. They started 6-1. They've since lost the last two, and that's been to good franchises in both Toronto and Cleveland. And in the Toronto game, they got down a good deal, came back, only lost by 2, and for the most part played a solid game in Cleveland. But I certainly think they have exceeded expectations, Greg.
I agree. I mean, I think the game against the Cavs was somewhat deceptive in that, I mean, they had incredible defense, particularly on James. They were able to hold him to, I think he missed 10 of his first 13 shots in the game, which just speaks to how well the defense played. But that kind of defense did leave an opening on Fry, who just exploded in the fourth quarter and came out with 11 points. But I think we're seeing some good things from the team.
Yeah, I think when you look at the Hornets, they're 6-3, but their 3 losses come against the Celtics, the Raptors, and the Cavaliers. Those 3 teams last year were what many consider the best teams in the East. I think what the Hornets are showing is that they can handle these teams, but I think the biggest problem is down the stretch, especially during the Raptors and the Cavaliers game. They were up on the Raptors by about 10 points, and then when it got to about the fourth quarter, the end of the third quarter, they just let the game go, and that's really the biggest problem, I think, this year, is that the Hornets are having trouble closing out games.
Moving from the NBA on to the NFL, it was a red-letter day for the Carolina Panthers. They found themselves up 17-3 at one point, and certainly in the driver's seat to win that ball game. You have very little protection for Cam the vast majority of the game, so many times. Even if he didn't get hit, he would just take a sack anyway and go down because, for one, you don't need him taking another hit, and 2, if he tries to make a play out of the pocket, then if you get out of the pocket and beyond the line of scrimmage, there is no such thing as illegal hits to the head unless it's a targeting call. So I'm okay with him going down, but Jack, I mean, how do you let that one slip away if you're Carolina? And really, you can't if you want to compete for the rest of the season.
I think that's a very good point. That was more of a game that they should have won and were looking to win. I think you look at the 2 turnovers that happened near the end of the game. Carolina was doing very well until those 2 turnovers happened. Cam had a throw that wasn't probably the best throw of the game, definitely not. That was intercepted by Eric Berry. Eric Berry took it to the house. That's kind of the turning point for me. But the defense definitely put them in a position to win the game on the final drive, and just kind of a great play by Marcus Peters coming in there and taking the ball from Kelvin Benjamin, really sealing the deal for the Chiefs. So I think it's just a great play by Kansas City defense and not lackluster play by the Carolina offense. I think that's what you really have to look at.
Yeah.
I think it really was. I mean, if you watched the first half and the second half, you'd have thought you were watching 2 different games.
Oh, yeah.
Because the first half, I mean, the Panthers limited the Chiefs to, I think, 65 rushing yards. The second half, things just, for lack of a better way of describing it, just got messy. I mean, there were 17 unanswered points. The back-to-back third-quarter sacks, I think, just really spelled disaster for that game.
And Alex Smith, it's definitely a Jekyll and Hyde situation oftentimes with him, but you see flashes occasionally of why he was the #1 pick coming out of college ever so often. Now, just as often, you see him throw a terrible pick in the first half and look, below mediocre. And in years past for Kansas City, even when they were kind of on a roll, that defense was really what was given the most credit, and no one really accounted for the Chiefs' offense because they said, well, we have Alex Smith at quarterback. But you're right. In that second half, he was rolling. Carolina couldn't make a tackle all of a sudden, and we already mentioned it, but the O-line fell apart. Sam, in your opinion, if they are able to get this season turned around in any degree and even sniff the wild card, what do the Panthers have to do?
Well, I mean, they got to stop losing games. I know it's simple to say, but this is a Carolina Panthers team that has slim to all. I might say no margin for error. The rest of the season, I think they kind of just took their margin for error out, having lost this game. Their secondary, the Panthers are they're lucky that the score was as close as it was, because the secondary in that second half left two guys, Travis Kelce on the first play. I can't remember who the wide receiver was on the second play. The exact same play, wide open in the back corner of the end zone, and they're just lucky that Alex Smith didn't see those two players, or else it could have been a 1 or 2, maybe even 3 possession lead for the Chiefs. So I think, and it's been the story all year. The secondary just has to step up. Somebody has to step up and start making plays. You know, you can talk all you want to about Josh Norman this, Josh Norman that, but we lost 3, I think, of our starting.
He was one man.
Right, he was one man. Granted, he was a great player, but you lost him, Charles Tillman, one of the other safeties, I think. So the secondary, depleted as it is, I think somebody has to step up, and you have some prospects, but they might not even be ready at this point.
I agree. The margin for error is certainly slim to none.
Mm-hmm.
And the bad thing when you're looking at the schedule is, frankly, it doesn't get any easier from here for the Carolina Panthers, but we'll see how that spells for the rest of the season. This week on our Mountaineer Spotlight, we want to highlight the men's club rugby team. We took a look at how they practice and what it takes on such a tough team. Our friend Brittany has the latest.